Riamu Yumemi. If you make your home on certain sects of the internet, you may be familiar with this coked out shut-in fiend who seems to be reminiscent of every single trashy 1,000-follower e-girl that has become practically an epidemic. You may not know what this thing is or even his name, but it may have crossed paths with you at some point. You could be familiar with an insane person and their passing or eternal obsession with this creature. If you instead go outside, touch grass, etc., you may not be familiar with the phenomenon of this pastel girl as a mascot for chronically online mental cases. Either way, let me introduce you to the character Riamu Yumemi, an idol from the Idolmaster series. Now, you may not know or be all that familiar with the Idolmaster series, and that's mostly because it's relegated to Japan despite its meteoric success over there. But then, what makes her remarkable over here if she supposedly has no reach here? Well, put simply, she has become somewhat of an internet darling over here, despite her complete non-presence as an actual commercialized character in our sphere, spawning various memes, parodies, and other wonderful things that we do to memeable characters. In fact, these memes have created an event horizon where a non-zero part of her fanbase here is completely unaware of her actual franchise that she exists from, or even that she is a commercialized property owned by a company. But then, how has this singular character out of a continent-sized roster of a pretty decently sized franchise managed to break the region-long containment all by herself? Well, let's start with the obvious. The first thing that sticks out when looking at Miss Yumemi is her very unique yet familiar design, with striking pastel color palettes and very stick-out, unique accessories. But all that effort contrasts with her actual clothing being just a t-shirt and nothing else but I assume to be underwear. It's a nice, comfy outfit for when you just want to walk around your house and do nothing, except she walks outside like that. And already you can kind of just get a glimpse into what kind of person she is. But who is she as a commercial property? Well, Riamu Yumemi was first teased for the Idolmaster mobile gacha game in February of 2019, and then subsequently dropped 2 months later as a rare card. It's a little hard to explain the rarity system, but if I were to put it in Pokemon terms, it'd be like seeing those shitty little energy cards that you go through looking for something worth something, like a rare foil card. From my admittedly limited understanding of rare cards, they're typically brand new idol designs that are basically just a shotgun blast into the audience to see what sticks, and they build on the ones that do and just kind of forget about the rest of them. Luckily for our hero, Riamu stuck with the audience almost immediately. She'd get a chance to prove that popularity just 1 month after her release, when the 8th annual general election, or fan vote, was coming to decide which 15 out of the 190 idols would have an original song made just for them. And incredibly, beating out many seasoned veterans with established fan bases to their name, Riamu placed 3rd overall in the general elections, earning herself not only the fully voiced song, but also the voice actor that probably needs to come with it, which is a little crazy considering that there are some idols that have been around for years without so much as a peep. As for the song actually performed by a voice actor, it released just over a year after the girl herself dropped. Riamu's debut single sounds like you just kidnapped a hyperpop fan and shoved them into Bamco offices and forced them to make an Idolmaster song with little supervision. As such, in direct contrast to most of the Idolmaster songs that are either solemn ballads or peppy happy cute songs used mainly to highlight a voice or visual performance, Riamu's song instead feels like being smacked upside the head with a neon sign advertising a 100 Gex concert at 2 a.m. in some random dive bar downtown. The song kinda just punches you in the face with loud ass synths and doesn't really stop from there, and Riamu's just singing about how much he wants to kill you in the idol industry in general the whole time. Pretty good song. Though definitely on the bottom of the list in terms of songs you want to play on the aux. In essence, it's a standout weirdo song for a standout weirdo girl, a kind of microcosm of who Riamu Yumemi is supposed to be. And despite the song's glaringly apparent lack of mainstream appeal, this song has more views than pretty much any other Idolmaster music video I could find. But this level of success doesn't just come from a unique design. There's a lot of things surrounding it that make it endearing to a lot of different people. As a character, Riamu is actually fairly troubled. The game's very first word in her description is neurotic, and it honestly doesn't get much better from there. Illustrating a 19-year-old with no job and in no kind of school having a quarter-life crisis after realizing the inevitable crawl of time will come not only for her youth, but eventually her life. By the time you meet her in-game, she's still unemployed, but you don't find this girl looking for a job, or trying to get a CDL, or trying to do anything productive with her life. You find her going to underground idol circuits and getting really mad at people online for disagreeing with her idol opinions. And it's not like a normal little cute mad, no, she's ready to die behind this shit. An idol producer will see this woman melting down over public criticism that's not even directed towards her, and decide to give her a job application to become a public figure. Even Riamu was kind of like, whoa man, why the fuck are you giving me this job? But you sign her on anyway. And yeah, she does cause a little bit of an annoyance for an agency, but what does this bullshit have to do with the outside world? As I mentioned earlier, this girl had popularity from the word go. Her unique design and chipmunkish face sticks out from the crowd of conventionally appealing idols that the company has been putting out for damn near 2 decades at this point. And her personality as the weirdo loser girl also brings in an audience that just can't be reached with the other more conventional personalities. In other words, she was an idol specialized to take on an unexplored niche, and that venture proved fruitful in getting this girl well known. And characters that are popular tend to have some kind of fan works about them, oftentimes spreading the popularity further to those fans' fans. But in this case, her weirdo nature allowed her to be put in more ridiculous and stupid scenarios than the average idol probably would have. Like, as popular as some of the mainstays in the series already were, you don't really get to see as much art of those ones blasting lines of cocaine quite like Riamu does. And you don't really see him doing crack or heroin, but you see Riamu doing it. Damn, those pill earrings do a lot of work for her. And a lot of these insane scenarios and situations that she would occasionally be cast in would invite others not so in tune with Idolmaster to not only pick up on her, but start adopting her into their own shitposting. These adopters may not be entirely aware of her entire personality or anything, but they sure are confident in their ability to make her life as miserable as possible. Which feeds into this idea that the girl is at her comedic zenith when she is being portrayed as a subhuman creature unable to fulfill even her most basic needs. And it twists a character trait that would be considered taking away from her mainstream appeal, which would be her weirdness, unstable behavior, and general patheticness, and instead would cause her to get the most shine out of any non-anime idol fan in existence. Unlike the fans of most idols, who just kind of expect some level of refinement in their favorite character, Riamu's bar for believability is so much lower, thanks to her completely anxiety-ridden dialogue and her status as a nursing school dropout loser who would skip work because a 13-year-old said so. And these memeable character traits that she's been carrying throughout the internet leads to a character archetype that has become much trendier and in fashion lately. The pathetic loser archetype. Popularized by characters like Regin Arataka, Yamcha, and basically any bro side character in a shonen, this archetype is characterized by their sheer ineptitude in what should be basic tasks that anyone could do with little difficulty, as well as their propensity to end up in compromising situations all by themselves through their own faults with little to no outside interference. Their continued L's and failures actually serve to endear the fans of this archetype, who have probably spent way too long looking at perfect characters with little in the way of embarrassing failures to endear themselves with. Almost like a punk counterculture to the cookie-cutter fan favorite archetype, except instead of the whole cohesive, abrasive aesthetic and general anti-establishment message that punk comes with, it's just people who see someone that would actually slip on a banana peel in real life and them deciding they would give their life for that person. But you would never guess how much they love these characters just by seeing how they talk about these characters. Pathetic cringe fail. Little dumb idiot. I want to crush her with a rock. I love her so much. Need to flush her down a toilet and spray her with bug spray. Their expressions of love is a little messed up, but again, the entire appeal of these dumbasses is that they're so pathetic. They're so stupid. They're so inept. And so wishing for more chances to see this absolute ineptitude seems in line with what the fans would want out of a pathetic character. And if it's something the fans want, well, somebody's gonna get it to them. Whether that somebody be the Idolmaster lifer that has spent $500 getting every card Riamu has, or some random dude across the pond that doesn't even know how to say Riamu right, both of them know exactly what the people want, because most likely they're already in that group of people. But when the niche is filled by too many people, an arms race breaks out. With the continued proliferation of Riamus as an esoteric darling amongst internet communities, rapid armament would begin outside the comparatively small Western Idolmaster sphere for the versatility that this girl offered in shitposts, extending Riamu past her limitations as a niche weeaboo-only meme girl into a... and still kinda niche weeaboo meme girl, but you know, with a dash of mascot appeal. Of course, as previously mentioned, half the people making these memes have no clue who the fuck Riamu even is supposed to be, so now the shitposting strays away from her actual established character to the Flanderizing headcanon version of the girl that these people know. Where does a Kentucky knockoff of Riamu Yumemi come from? The free market, where people post their shorthand fan art of Riamu depicting her most extreme traits. And in these free markets, the shitposts will always rise to the top, above all else, showing some demented and hilarious version of this character, which is built off of through the generations of Riamus that come after it. And what starts as something like, yeah, she probably would take anxiety meds, rapidly turns into, this bitch rails lines of coke at the club nightly. And yet all throughout this bastardization, they both have the same root of, this girl is a little pathetic and mentally unstable and perhaps uses drugs to cope with that, but it becomes drastically exaggerated as it goes through the pipeline. And on the other end of that ecosystem destroying pipeline, Riamu's stock price starts booming. Of course, she isn't the only Idolmaster character to have broken out of containment and been made into a meme in the wider Western world, but she's the one where we don't just remember something she did or some image made of her, but a snapshot of her character. And although we bastardize that shit to no end, it's still something rooted in her that we ended up taking a liking to. Otherwise, people would just use someone else instead. She represents something important to people and so often can even become the vehicle for them to express themselves in. Let me stop huffing my own farts for a sec. This is a pretty way of me saying some e-girls see Riamu as some kind of kinny, scrunkly baby they can impress upon. But hey, that's still plenty of impact she leaves on the e-culture, let's be real. And we also gotta be real enough to know that before I get too flowery and metaphorical with a little pink girl, you gotta remember that there's a million ways this ends up going awry. I mean, let's not ignore the many memed characters that are just not compatible with their actual characterization, or even real people that are just miscast by memes into someone completely different. When you lose a plot like that, it just kind of stops being as endearing, because why don't you just use someone else? It's something that's always looming in the corner for every one of these types of internet characters. I've seen it happen to some of my favorite characters. And there's no doubt you'll see it happen if you have any kind of favorite characters and go in any kind of internet community. Now, I'm not saying you need a thesis in this quirky, neat idol girl like I inexplicably put myself through making, but at least try to understand the base of what you're working with before going off to accidentally murder something. I think she's a cool and funny character by herself, so there's no need to make up some bullshit to fit a square peg into a round hole. If you got a good idea and you want to use her, use her. If you got a bad idea, fucking shelve that shit. At the end of the day though, I might just be acting a little melodramatic. I mean, after all, it's the made up internet reputation of some imaginary anime idol. It's not like this matters at all. But if I see this girl in 6 months like I see that poor rotting corpse in Echo Arc, I'ma have to pour one out, because we'd have lost a real one.